Welcome back to Panhandle Sports Weekly. I'm Scott McKinney. Thank you for joining us here on 30A TV. Make sure you log on to the website at 30a.tv to watch our shows on demand each week and to watch all of our other great shows. That's 30a.tv. And of course, we're very honored to have our good friend Stuart Houston from Hooters of the Emerald Coast, and of course the lower portions of Alabama here with us. They have stores from Mobile all the way over to Panama City Beach. Make sure you get out and enjoy your favorite game at your neighborhood Hooters store, a very family-friendly place to be. And we've got Stuart here to also pick a few games this week. We've got a great lineup of games. Last week, I continued my great picking with the exception of one game. Another 4-1 week for me last week, the only game I missed. My alma mater, Ole Miss, we're going to have to take their helmet and throw it out the window if they don't pick up the pace a little bit. The Rebels lose to a very good Memphis team last week. That was my only loss, so we'll see if we can have a better week this week. So, Stuart, we'll start. I've got 5 games. Tennessee at Alabama, a rivalry that goes back many, many decades. It's typically been a rivalry that has produced the leader of the SEC. Of course, when the SEC went to division play, it became then a preview of what might be the SEC championship game. Alabama certainly is starting to play a lot better. Tennessee, well, they're still trying to figure things out this week. What are your thoughts?
Well, I agree with you. Alabama is playing better. Coker is starting to play a little bit better. I think he's feeling a little more confident within the offense. I think that Tennessee is – Butch Jones is doing a great job at Tennessee. I think he's a couple years away. His recruiting has been excellent. Some of his game decisions are a little questionable. The line of the game is 15.5. I don't think Alabama's got any problem in this game. Alabama wins this game going away.
Yeah, I like Alabama to win. I picked it to Alabama 28-13. I worry about Alabama looking ahead a little bit. They do get an open date next week before they play LSU, so we'll see.
And I think that, again, this will be a game where they're going to test Coker and test that offense. They're going to really put that offense in gear against the pretty good Tennessee defense. But look for Alabama to more than easily handle that Tennessee Volunteer team.
All right, a big game coming up down in South Florida, Miami Gardens, where the Miami Hurricanes, I wanted to watch them last week coming off of that loss, the emotional loss to Florida State. How would they respond? They went home last week. They played pretty well, actually.
Played a okay Virginia Tech team.
Yep, and got the victory. And now
they
get really their first test, I guess, other than Florida State, and that will be Clemson. With, of course, the Clemson Tigers, we hear all these great things about them. This may be Clemson's first test.
This is going to be a game that is going to test Clemson for one reason. They're going to be playing in maybe 90-degree heat down in Miami, and it's an early kickoff, so you don't get much cloud cover in the afternoon in South Florida. So the heat could play a little bit in this game. Clemson comes in number 5 in the nation with high expectations, as you mentioned, looking down the road for that Florida State battle, which will be in November. Miami with Kaya, as Kaya goes, so does the Miami team. Miami's pass defense is highly questionable. That's the only thing from a defensive standpoint that I'm concerned about Miami. Clemson can throw the ball. I think if Clemson gets in trouble because of not being able to run the ball against Miami, they will successfully be able to throw the football. I think this is going to be a close game. Again, I think the heat will have a little bit to do with it. If this game is close in the fourth quarter, Miami's got a shot. I do think Clemson will win this football game.
This is my upset special of the week. I like Miami at home because of the heat, the humidity, and I think Clemson may be overlooking Miami a little bit. Clemson's kind of pointing ahead toward, that big matchup with Florida State. I love Dabo Swinney. He's got probably the best talent he's ever had down there. Miami with the upset over Clemson this week, throwing a monkey wrench into the plans of what may be happening with the ACC.
Well, the funny thing about it is Miami's going to see a little bit of Florida State in Clemson because Clemson runs a little bit of what Florida State runs.
That's right.
So there'll be a little bit of familiarity, but there again, I think that Miami's secondary is questioned.
Next game on our list this week, my alma mater, Ole Miss, trying to bounce back after that disappointing loss at Memphis last week. That's a tough game for Ole Miss. I said last week, Memphis always plays the Rebels well. They recruit the same kids. They're 74 miles apart, and we see Memphis is a really good team. Ole Miss goes home. They do get Laramie Tunsil back on the offensive line. They've got 7 of 9 starters back this week who missed the game last week because of injury. This is a de facto loser leave town game for the SEC West. The loser is done for the West race. The winner moves forward. What do you think?
Well, I think, is Ole Miss ever going to schedule Memphis again? That's the question.
No, never.
But anyway, Texas A&M, what Texas A&M team's going to show up?
Yeah.
That's the question. They're playing this game at Texas A&M. I think A&M wins this football game. Ole Miss will win this football game. I like what Ole Miss is doing on defense. I think they've got enough defense to hold A&M to a low-scoring game. Ole Miss wins this game with a field goal at the end.
And remember, A&M is playing this game in revenge. Ole Miss went to Texas A&M last year when they were down and hung half 100 on the Aggies.
That's correct.
So they don't forget that out in Aggie land. So I like Ole Miss to win a close one. To me, one of the more intriguing games of the weekend will happen up in Fayetteville, Arkansas. They're expecting bad weather for this game, maybe heavy rain and thunderstorms. Auburn going up there with a record of 4-2, Arkansas with a record of 2-4, but yet Arkansas is favored. You know, Arkansas has been a little bit of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde up there this year. And guess what? These two coaches, they don't like each other. Coach Bielema of Arkansas, Gus Malzahn of Auburn, they're not friends. And so I think this will be a fun game.
Well, I think all the games we mentioned, the Alabama game, the Ole Miss game, the Arkansas, and the game we're going to be talking about next, conditions will be wet in all those games. They are calling for rain in the southeast on Saturday. Arkansas, again, smash mouth football team. Big offensive line, big defensive line. Auburn's going to have a heck of a time running the football against Arkansas. White having a little better job under center for Auburn. I don't know if Auburn's got enough offense to win this football game. I like Arkansas, again, in a low-scoring game, to win this game with a field goal late.
I do too. I'm dead with you on that one. And of course, the big one in Atlanta this weekend, Florida State. This is a tough road test. Georgia Tech has not had the year they wanted to have under Paul Johnson. They're still a difficult team to defend because of the triple option. You must play defensive football, smart defensive football, disciplined defensive football.
Assignment defense.
You've
right.
got to. Can Florida State do that?
Well, FSU has great talent on the defensive line. Yeah. You're seeing there's some kids coming into the program, true freshmen, that are beginning to start playing on the defensive line. Great athletes. I mean, the talent level is incredible. What FSU has to be careful of, though, is those cut blocks. Yeah. They got to keep those linemen off their legs because, again, the fear of ankle injuries and knee injuries with the type of running offense that Tech runs is very high. The thing I like about what FSU's got is they've got a developing offense. They've got an offensive line. Remember, they got four true first-year starters on that offensive line. They've got 5-6 games under their belt. By the way, Georgia Tech has lost 5 in a row.
That's right.
Georgia Tech will lose 6 in a row. Florida State will win this game, I believe, by 2 touchdowns. I like the game 35-20.
I have a feeling it's going to be close, and I think Florida State will win the game, but I think it will be by the hair of their chinny chin chin on Saturday, and they'll take that and move on.
If it wasn't for the fact that Georgia Tech really hasn't beaten anyone, I would say they got a chance. But the fact is they have not played and beaten anyone that's good.
That's a great point. It's going to be a fun weekend of college football. Stuart, thank you for coming on board with us today.
Scott, it was a pleasure.
Being here. And, of course, Stuart Houston from the Hooters stores of the Emerald Coast. If you're in the Mobile area, stop by any of the 3 stores there. Gulf Shores, Alabama, home of the world's tiniest Hooters. Pensacola Beach, Destin, Crestview, and Panama City Beach. All of their wonderful locations. They are the place to watch your favorite sporting events. And you heard Stuart say earlier, they are the king of wings. And I can tell you, after being there last night, he is telling it like it is, folks. We'll come back, wrap up this week's edition of Panhandle Sports Weekly right here on 30A TV.